Hello, this is Malorian. This is the Orc Tactical Team. First thing I want you guys to see is I figured out the whole border problem. So the whole thing before, we had this stupid black border going all the way around. That's going to be fixed now. It'll still be on the sides for pictures, but I figured it out otherwise. Now, we're going to be coming back in this Orc Tactical Team to the High Elf book. Now, I already covered the big bulk of it. I covered my favorite special character, the Everqueen. But now we're going to go back and look at the other special characters because, hey, you know, they're going to be playing a kind of part. Now, let's look at the two big names first, and that's going to be Tyrion and Teclis. They have them both here together. You know, they're brothers and all that fun stuff, so that's all good news. But let's actually look what they are. First, we have Tyrion. Now, he's pretty awesome. He's on his fast steed. He's a cav guy. 10 attacks and his 10 weapon skill 9. So he's the fighter, obviously. And, you know, he's kind of like before, except now a few nice things that his inspiring presence goes around 18 inches. So, you know, that's a nice little bonus. Leadership isn't really an issue with high elves, but hey, it's always a really nice thing to do, especially if you're going to start moving on to kind of like a monster army and all this stuff that might have lower leadership. It could come up. So it's a nice thing to have. Get that leadership 10 all over the place. Then he has his awesome weapon, the Sun Fang, and what that gives him is it's +3 strength. So it's pretty freaking awesome. Flaming attacks, and here's a new thing. It gives him a breath attack at strength 4. So that's pretty awesome. Now, of course, you could run into the times where you're going to be fighting someone that has a 2+ ward against flaming, and then basically this guy's useless. But hey, you know, he's pretty damn nice and pretty damn strong. That gives him strength 7 overall, you know, and with always strikes first, he's going to be killing lots of guys by himself. Then his special armor gives him the 1+ save, and then he's also going to have a 4+ ward and the Fireborn. So same thing, if you go up against something with flaming attacks, they're screwed. And meanwhile, you have a 4+ ward, you can always do the synergies, get that easily to a 3+ ward with the whole high magic stuff. Then he has finally the Heart of Avalorn, and what this one here does is that it gives him magic resistance 2, and in addition, if he suffers an unsaved wound that would kill him, then you roll a d6, and then on a 2+, you negate the wound. So it's kind of like a one-time save a wound on a 2+ type thing. So, you know, it's pretty nice. Has a little extra survivability there. Overall, you know, he's an okay character. If you're going with the whole cav theme, sure, he's kind of cool. Overall, though, he's not really needed. He's one of those things you'll use because you like the model. Otherwise, if you're looking for something tactical, the best tactical thing about this guy is the 18-inch bubble, but you don't really need that. I mean, sure, this guy's going to be tough as nails, hard to kill. You could also build your own prints to be exactly the same. So, there you have it for him. Then we have Teclis. Now, Teclis in the old book was crazy, right? And of course, he had a lot of complaints. He's one of the guys that really made it so that special characters were banned in some tournaments, and luckily he has completely changed. He is a level 4 wizard. He knows everything from either the lore of the high magic or this is massive. Or he can instead choose to know pick one spell from each of the 8 lores of the rule book. So this is kind of crazy, just like how you have the lore masters, like, wow, it's so cool to have the signature of each one. Well, this guy is just another step where it's like, yeah, you know what, I want to have Flesh to Stone, I want to have Purple Sun, I want to have, it's like, yeah, you can get your pick of the litter. So as far as picking spells, Teclis really has, you know, this is where it's at, pretty much. He has all the usual things. He'll get +1 to cast if it is the high magic. He has a Sword of Teclis. I always love when they give special swords and stuff to mage with the 1 attack. But it's, you know, everything wounds on a 2+, and you don't get any armor save. So, whatever. You know, maybe he'll be killing one guy a turn, but you don't take Teclis for his killing ability. Then he has the Moon Staff, and this one's kind of neat. It's a one-time use, and what this does is that it basically turns you to a Slann, where you're going to be getting an extra dice for all your spells. However, he's going to become just toughness 1. So this is kind of a crazy, silly thing, where if you do this, yeah, he'll be really easy to kill, but, you know, obviously if you ever get to Teclis, usually you're in the spot where he's going to die easy anyway. Then he has his scroll. Now, the last thing was a one-use only. This is another one-use only. It's always neat when they give one-use only items to special characters. But what this one does here is when an enemy spell has been cast, provided it's not irresistible force, Teclis can read this scroll instead of trying to stop it. And what it does is that it automatically just stops the spell. And additionally, you each roll a dice. And if you beat him, he forgets the spell. You roll the dice, you add it to... No, it's just that's it. You just roll a dice, and that's it. If yours is higher, then they forget the spell. So it's kind of like his old... I don't know, it's just a scroll. Really, it's a spell scroll, one-time use, and it has a added benefit where maybe you might make it so they forget the spell for the whole time. So... Again, pretty nice to have. It basically means you can get 2 Dispel Scrolls in your army if you take another mage. And then finally he has his crown, which makes it so that his wizard level is increased by 1. So really, all that means is that all of his spells, no matter what he takes, will be an additional +1 to cast and a +1 to dispel. Overall, this is a very interesting caster. He's not the thing where you force spells through like the old Teclis. He's a guy that gives you the options. You go into a game saying, I have this entire toolbox, and on the one turn I really need it, I get to roll an extra dice on every single one I want. And of course, when you're taking one spell from every single lore, you can come up with some pretty crazy spell magic phases. Now, of course, there is a little bit of difference here. Before, if you really need to force through one spell, you throw your 6 dice, you get doubles. It just happens. It can't be scroll, can't be nothing. On this here, it'll be very powerful, but you're still going to be at the mercy of the winds of magic, so that's always a weakness whenever you go with magic stuff like this. And 2, you're not forcing things through. And I mean, here, Teclis, he can suffer from miscasts. If you get a miscast, there's nothing stopping that. So that's obviously a big problem right here. Now, tactically, yeah, I'd say he's very interesting. You could take him if you really want to be the guy that really works with the magic phase and all this. He's going to be kind of your guy. He still is a freaking ton of points, though. And overall, that's going to be very restrictive. You're probably going to be better off just building something of your own and saying, hey, I don't have a spell from every lore, and I'm not going and getting an extra dice all the time, but hey, I'm also not toughness 1. And I mean, like this guy here, Teclis, he doesn't even have a ward or anything, nothing. If you get to this guy, he's dead. Meanwhile, if you just take a level 4 with high magic, you give him a 4+ ward, he casts 1 spell, boom, 3+ ward. So Teclis is very not survivable, and but he is going to give a crazy magic phase. So sure, yeah, you can see him in bigger games, but whereas I saw Teclis in a lot of competitive games in tournaments, I don't expect to see Teclis as much. Definitely he's better than Tyrion, but he's not the auto take he used to be. He'll be maybe even guys where people will take him because they want to have a fluffy magical army, right? With all the weaknesses he has, I don't know. Toughness 1 after that phase, and just the fact that he can suffer a miscast is huge. So interesting, but not overpowered, especially given the points. Then you have Altharion the Grim. As a side note, I was really hoping they're going to be bringing back his other version, just like they have with Manfred, where they have the 2 versions. I thought, hey, let's bring back the blind version. Didn't happen. We still just have him before when he's on his crazy griffin and all that fun stuff. So really, right from the beginning, that's what you get, is you get, basically your lord that's going to be on this griffin, but he has some interesting things here. So he is going to have hatred versus orcs and goblins. Okay, why not? I mean, really, that when you have always strikes first, hatred is just kind of like a fluff addition, but hey, he has it. Then he has Blood Oath, which means that whenever you're in combat with Grom the Punch, you have +1 to hit. Again, a very fluffy thing. It only matters when you're fighting him, and yeah, I mean, I don't really see Grom taken ever anyway, so again, a very fluffy thing here. Then he's going to have, of course, his fancy sword. What this is that it's at +2 strength, but at the same time, armor saves can't be taken against them. So, it's all right. It's a pretty good, decent sword. Then he has his helm, which is going to give him a +1 to his armor save, and grants him and his mount a 5+ ward. So I mean, that's usually a weakness with these other mounts, is that the mount doesn't have a ward. It'd be nice if you could do the synergies and get that ward up, but because he's a monster, you're not going to see that really raised up too much. Well, really at all. You do have the ability, though, to take him without his mount. That is actually an option now. So sure, you could take him on foot, and then you could be boosting that stuff up. But the thing is, let's just finish him off. He has a magic resistance 1, and he's also a level 2 wizard that can take it from any of the 8 lores. So it's also cool. It's kind of like that middle thing. You know, if you ever want to do the silly thing where you take a lord and you give him the wizard hat, why do that? Take this guy, he's not stupid, and you get to pick the lore, so it's just kind of better. Plus you get all his crazy stuff. Again, he is a lot of points, but he's not crazy points, right? If you think of a regular lord plus a wizard hat and compare him to this guy, you know, he's worth it with all the other gear he has. The problem is, of course, is the defense. So really, if you put him ever on the Griffin guy, you know, he's a special name, Stormwing, he's going to take cannons, he's going to die. Sure, you have a 5+ ward, but it's just not enough. If you put him inside a unit, you can do the shenanigans with getting him up to a 3+ ward, as long as you cast 2 spells. But at the end of the day, yeah, he just doesn't have a lot of other stuff to keep him alive, unfortunately. And that's always a problem with these special characters. You spend all these points and they die. So overall, tactically, he doesn't really give you anything. But hey, you know, if you love fluff, if you play against orcs and goblins a lot or whatever, you know, he still has a different model. I got him somewhere. I got to find him. But yeah, he's different. Then we have Alith Anar, and sorry if I'm pronouncing this stuff wrong, of course, again, but what he is he's your Shadow King. So he has hatred against Dark Elves. Again, that doesn't really matter because he always strikes first. It's very rare. I mean, okay, against Orcs and Goblins, it's never going to come up unless, geez, I don't know what. If you have some guy that has like his initiative really boosted up. Here, sure, you have some Dark Elves with some really high initiative. Maybe you wouldn't be getting your rerolls anyway, so now you get it. But again, probably will never come up. He has this Stone of Midnight, and what this one does here, it gives him a 4+ ward save, and as well, anyone shooting at him is at -1 to hit. So pretty cool. He has the Shadow Crown, which what it does is gives him and his unit the Swift Stride special rule. Now, this, of course, means that you'll be charging with this guy that's kind of more of like a run-around archer, but hey, it's a nice thing to have. And then he has the Moon Bow, which is probably his signature thing, which gives him a 36-inch range weapon that's strength 7, does D3 wounds, and is quick to fire. And I wish my phone would shut the hell up. And of course, if it's against Dark Elves, they also get a -1 to their leadership. Now, this guy here, he is something special. And this is where we had talked about there's different ways to run the army, and something that is fairly viable is the whole doing Wood Elves better than Wood Elves. Running around, shooting, you have your whole bolt throwers you can't catch and all that stuff. If you're going with that theme, this is another way to take a Lord and to sneak in this quasi-super bolt thrower into your army list. I mean, this is a bolt thrower that's going to be hitting on a 2+, is strength 7 instead of strength 6, and is quick to fire, so you can always, you know, like shoot it really fast if you're being charged or something. But, yeah, definitely a guy that's also lots of points. So it's not like where it's something where it's like, oh yeah, this guy's awesome, he's just an auto tank. I mean, really, for the most part, if you took a regular list, this is a lot of points to be spending for a bolt thrower. But if you're taking the list that's designed to be running around and hiding, this could be the right thing for you to get that extra damage potential. Of course, you're still going to need to try and fit in your magic and all that as well. But, you know, he's a fluffy guy, and he can work in tactically as well. And if nothing else, I mean, you got the whole point denial thing, right? You got him. He's going to be in a unit with Shadow Warriors, running around, shoot, shoot, shoot. You can't ever catch us. And, yeah, good times. Then I already talked about the Everqueen, which I think is awesome. And then we get to Core Hill. Pretty much the same as before. he has his weapons, which now are paired weapons, pretty much like before. Yeah, he can't be wounded by poison attacks. He's really the guy, just like before, where you're going to be taking him to put stubborn in a unit. If you have some unit that you want to turn stubborn, you take him. It's been mentioned in other shows before, but of course it's always funny that the characters that are like the special character for a unit, you'd never take them with that unit. There's no reason to take this guy and put him in White Lions. You're going to take him and put him in your sword masters or your spearmen or something else like that to make them stubborn. Or you can always just charge out on his own. Of course, he does have the option to be mounted on a lion chariot, I believe. Yeah, I'm sure it's there. But again, that's just kind of crazy town. Sure, it's nice to have a stubborn chariot, but hey, those chariots are stubborn anyway, and you're just asking for trouble if you ever get shot with a cannon. So I would never do that option unless you're doing like for a real theme or something, but hey, it's a way to get stubborn into the army and have a guy that's fairly solid for his attacks. Then we get to Caradrian, and I know I'm going to mess this up, the captain of the Phoenix Guard. Now, he's a lot like before as well. The big thing here is he has his weapon, which is +1 strength. It's flaming, doing D3 wounds. So he's great for killing monsters, characters, all that type of stuff. And then also, if you ever kill him, the unit that killed him automatically takes D3 wounds with no armor save. So he's the perfect guy to suicide and go fight other characters, because whenever you're hitting them, you're doing D3 wounds at fairly strong. And then if they ever kill you back, boom, well, okay, you killed me. Guess you're taking D3 wounds again as well. So he's very good for assassinations. And the interesting thing about him is that now they make it so he can actually go into a Frostheart Phoenix. The way they look, you'd think that he'd actually be on the fire one, but whatever, doesn't really matter. Of course, if he's on that Phoenix, he's flying around, and he's a little bit more defensible because then the Phoenix has the -1 strength to the attacks, so that'll help keep him alive. But overall, you're better off keeping him in a regular unit with the 3+ save. Because 3+ save, because he has a 4+ cast 1 spell. So really, another way you could look at this guy is like the perfect bodyguard. You have your level 4, he'll be in your unit, and then this guy's with him, and then whenever you get charged, well, sure, your lord does have a 3+ ward, but if you ever don't want to risk that, send in Caradrian, and he'll deal with it as well. I mean, he's also giving you the no, sorry, he's not the magic resistance. That's the other guy. No, sorry, magic resistance 1. So he still has that as well. He's going to be giving you. And but yeah, as far as putting him on the actual Phoenix, I just don't see the point. I mean, sure, like from an assassination point of view, sure, fly in there, kill a character, blah, blah, blah. But really, again, it's just the risk. Or if you take this cannon shot, you're going down. So I'm not really a fan, again, about putting him on there. Of course, there'll be a cool conversion and all that fun stuff, but otherwise, I just wouldn't do it. He's just a good guy to take on foot and put with your unit. And sure, I mean, again, you could put him with Phoenix Guard. It's not actually a dumb thing to do with them, but really, you just want him to be either in a unit that's rushing out to go for the assassination or protecting your own characters. And that's really it. That's really it for special characters. So as far as my favorite go, of course, it has to go still to the Everqueen. I think she's a very solid take. Another one that I think then would be second would be Caradrian, or however you say his name, just because he's so useful. Also, then maybe to Core Hill, to just adding stubborn wherever you need. I mean, then you can have multiple units being stubborn, right? Because you could have your White Lions from Special. You take your Core, and you could add this to the unit, the Core Hill. You can have another unit, have the Stubborn Crown. You can have a lot of stubborn in this army. As far as the worst choice in the whole book, that would probably go to Aetherian. He just doesn't really have a point still. Again, he's just too much risk when he's flying around, and then if he's ever in a unit, he's just not special enough. So there you go. There you have the special characters. I'm going to be having a video with Kieran Dunleavy on Saturday. It's going to be at 3 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. So if you're on the East Coast, that's going to be at, I believe, 1 o'clock is the way it works. Here it's always later. So no, 5 o'clock. But the big thing there is just that, yeah, we're going to be talking about High Elves again. Just little things that we found interesting, both him and me. He's the guy that found out the really interesting way to convert and make both Phoenixes from the one kit. So you're going to definitely want to catch that. So anyway, we'll see you then. And if you have anything else you want me to cover from the High Elf book, really I'm going to have the one more video talking about how Orcs and Goblins would counter a tournament High Elf list. But otherwise, unless you guys want something else from here, I'm going to move on to something else. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later. Bye.